Sweet.
All right, welcome to the A1 Podcast. Your host, Oscar Lee. I'm joined today by 49ers, International, Lipstadt Eagles, Delta State, and De Anza College quarterback Kevin Vi. Kevin, how you doing today, brother?
Pretty good, man. Just kind of hanging in there,
Yeah, so you're working, right? You're working today.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I thought most people were going to take the week off, but you're like the first one. So it was actually working like me.
I'm working all the way up, and I'm working all the way up until middle of New Year's Eve.
Yeah. It's just like, dude, like I'm working like all the way. Oh, yeah, same thing. New Year's Eve I'm working, and then pretty much then I have New Year's Day off. But yeah, the grind never stops. So check this out. You see these? Okay,
Nice.
I'm done. Okay, yeah. For the listeners who don't know, Kevin was the MVP of our. We'll get into this. Kevin was the MVP of the 2009 Bay Valley Conference, as well as they won the Bay Valley Conference champion, and they won the bowl game that year. And he set school records at De Anza for most passing TDs for 41, and higher passing rating, I believe. And then was there any records, Kevin, I missed out?
Yeah, it was most touchdown passes in the season. Also, that was within a 9-game schedule because our 10th game was actually Gavilan College forfeited due to the lack of one of their stadium lights was out, and also
Damn.
we tried to reschedule to our home, and they just didn't want to play us there, so they had to forfeit.
Wow. Okay, yeah, that's crazy. I never heard of a JUCO team forfeiting. I mean, when
They didn't want it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you guys came and beat us for 44-0, and I mean, we got our asses beat, but I mean, we still took the beating. You know what I mean? Just because it's about competing. Yeah. But I think some teams, like you said, I mean, if whatever excuse they want to come in, I know guys have trouble traveling, but Gavilan's not too far from De Anza. I mean, that's like an hour at most. You know what I mean?
It's literally, like I said, I live in Gilroy, so even going to De Anza, it was like a 45-minute drive. So
yeah,
even if they didn't want to get a bus, athletes themselves could have driven themselves there with no problem. And I'm pretty sure half of them probably lived in San Jose. So
yeah, exactly, man. Easy money. So, all right. So how you been? How's 2020 been for you? I mean, it's been crazy here for lots of people. I know that. Kind of, what do you do now? You work in software sales, right? Is that what you do?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So I work in software sales. So I sell to major corporations, enterprise level, mid market. I've closed deals with a company called like Tom's Shoes and various other type of big businesses like Google and Verizon and a few other ones.
Awesome, man. So yeah, I was working IT. I'm an IT consultant. So it looks like us being born and raised in the Bay, we kind of transitioned naturally to tech after we finished like college.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Yeah. And for me, jumping into software sales was kind of like the natural next progression, not only just growing up in the Bay Area, but also it's a sales mentality. You're part of a team.
Right.
You're driving towards a goal together as a team, as a company. I just look at it that standpoint, and every deal you're closing is like you're scoring points for your team, so.
Facts. And obviously, like I said yesterday's guest Cody mentioned you because we're talking about the Eagles, and Andrew, who's going to be our guest on Thursday, got injured, and you obviously were called in from Berlin, and I mean, kind of to talk to me about that a little bit before we get started with the beginning. So that experience.
Yeah, no. So actually at the time, so I'd actually signed a contract. Believe it or not, actually, it's funny. I was actually about to play arena football. I was actually in the middle of camp with the Spokane Shock.
Oh wow.
And I already knew with arena and understanding the exclusivity and percentage of an actual quarterback from arena going to the NFL is the lowest out of any position anywhere, right? Yeah. So I think it was like, believe it or not, still today, actually, the last quarterback taken from arena is still Kurt Warner. So that being said, when I looked at the European League, I saw multitudes of guys that were just getting into the NFL, that were getting into teams, and I found out NFL teams own those teams. So, and they're playing NFL rules out there on an NFL field, in big stadiums. So I was like, that was the next logical progression. Plus, they paid better. So I actually had a contract sent over to me in the middle of camp while I was in the dorm at the Spokane Shock, and I signed with the Berlin Rebels. I went over there, and believe it or not, I think it was like the first month I was there. They actually have a rival team, which was the Berlin Adlers, right? Okay. They're literally like, as they say, across the bridge, in-town rivalry. And we lost like 10 guys to them. And like 3 or 4 were supposed to be like the premier guys on the team. So it was already tough sledding out the gate, right? So going in, I think I got through, I think 6 games with them.
Nice.
Did really well. I was averaging like 3 touchdown passes a game. I was averaging like 40, 50 yards rushing a game. I had like 6 rushing touchdowns already.
Cooking.
But it was like, yeah, right. But we ended up being like 2-4,
Right.
because then guys started getting hurt and we just, we couldn't compete on that level in terms of talent. And also the thing is, you got to realize in the European League, you're only allowed 2 Americans on each side of the ball. So me being a quarterback, right? I either have just a running back or I have just a receiver, right? That's probably from a college level athleticism, right? Other than that, it's guys from Germany, it's guys from Poland, it's guys from all over in the European Union that can play
right.
On that team and have a contract. So when you start losing guys, everything starts happening. So it gets pretty difficult. So once we hit 2-4, all of a sudden, I remember the Warsaw Eagles before reaching out to me. And I know they reached out to me kind of when Andrew went down. They said, hey, like, I know you're still playing in Berlin, but, would you be willing to come over here? And even then, when I was talking to the Berlin Rebel coaches there, they're like, yeah, hey, I think we're just going to kind of can this season. Like, we just kind of want to just heal up and just kind of just let our German players kind of get at it. So he's like, if you want to look at other teams, go ahead. Which was awkward and weird to me, right? Because I'm used to a team being committed and wanting to finish the season and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But out there it's a little bit different. So they're like, hey, we just want to save your time. We don't want you to get beat up and get like injured or anything. So just do what you need to do. So obviously, like not even a week later, boom, Warsaw called me and I got on a train and I was there and I think 8 hours and I had two practices, and then the next thing, and then I'm playing a game that week. So,
fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Man.
So 2 days of practice, get out there and win us this game. And yeah, we actually ended up winning that game. I think it was like 47-14. We
wow.
blew that team out. And I already had instant rapport with the guys. We had quite a few Americans on the team, and they did it right. So they would interject those American players based on positions and team and kind of instances of what happened, right? So we had an American running back, we had an American receiver, right? Believe it or not, our receiver, he actually had a number 1 play on ESPN. He had like some crazy 105-yard kick return for a touchdown. So where he broke like 8 tackles. It was insane.
Nice.
Yeah. And then when he got back to States, he actually ended up playing arena. I can't remember for who. I'd have to look at it again. But yeah, no, so I got over there and then I kind of just took over that team and we just went on a huge win streak. I think we won 7 games in a row. And then we got all the way to the super final playoffs. We got to the semifinal portion. So out there they call their Super Bowl called the super final, right? So so we got to the semifinals and we played the Hawks, and they had a pretty good quarterback there. I think his name was Lance Creason, I believe. Big guy, 6'4". And I think we came in, we were down 21-3, and we came back and took the lead 24-23.
Wow.
They scored a touchdown. And then there was like, I want to say 20 seconds left, which felt like an eternity, where I hit a guy for touchdown 70 yards, and they called a pass interference on offense. Opposite side of the field, away from the play, had nothing to do with it. And I was like, for me in my head, I'm just laughing. I didn't think, I wasn't mad. I was just laughing because I'm like, that's European thinking, right? Like, oh, this is definitely offensive PI. I'm like, but it's nowhere near the play, so it can't be offensive PI.
Yeah.
The ball's 70 yards down the field.
Exactly.
Right. So that got called back. We got a 10-yard penalty, and then I hit another guy for 45 yards. He got out of bounds, and then we had another. And then we had 10 seconds left, and then we got holding call. And then we got a false start. And then I took off running. I got out of bounds for like 7 yards with 6 seconds. And then I hit my guy again for a 60-yard touchdown to take off. And then we got a penalty. And after that, it was and then I think we got a penalty. And I think at that point, we're at the 50-yard line with like 4 seconds left. And I actually had to come out of the game. It was like 4th down. I had to come out the game because in that play, my helmet came off. So they said you had to sit out of play. So they do kind of commingle some of the college rules with the NFL. So when my helmet came up, they're like, all right, you got to sit out of play. So I think actually Andrew was good by then. He came in that last play, and it was just, a kind of a shitty situation to come in on and not having played, right? So I think he completed a pass, but our guy got like tackled right away. And then we ended up losing that. So.
Damn. Yeah, it happens, man. I mean, politics and shit like that. I was talking to Cody about it. Like the indoor scene, obviously, like me, I got this ring. Kind of what you talk about, the lack of organization. It was like we basically had to put together a traveling team to go to the championship game, and we weren't even supposed to be there, but we had the best record because the actual West Conference champs were suspended. So we by default, basically, since they forfeited their season, we had to go sub in for them, and then we had to travel. We get there, only like 15 and 20 of us were able to make the trip. So obviously we don't even have our starters. We have 5 of our 20 starters, right? Or however many 16 starters in arena. It's only 8 man. So I mean, I get it. I mean, just it's different. It's a different kind of environment. Obviously from the college and arena where we played, or you played in the NFL, but obviously college and arena. So anyhow, let's start with the beginning. So obviously you said you're from Gilroy, but you actually grew up in San Jose, right? Or am I not?
So I was born and raised in San Jose. I was in San Jose all the way up until I was the age of like 8.
Yeah.
And then my parents moved to Gilroy, right? Yeah, but my entire family, everybody went, believe it or not, my brother, my sister, all my cousins, everybody went to Leland High School.
Okay.
Which is funny. But yeah, when I grew up in Gilroy, the other later part of my half, so I was still able to go to Oak Grove though.
Nice. Yeah, you went to Oak Grove. I remember. Yeah. Okay. And I think was Larry Licati there? Was he there?
Larry Licati came in his senior year from Evergreen High School. He transferred because I think also he was a senior, and I think the team that he was on at Evergreen, I think majority of that team was seniors. So when he was a junior, so they had to rebuild, and he was on the division line in terms of living of choosing Evergreen or Oak Grove. So his senior year, he was able to just do an easy transfer to Oak Grove.
Yeah, it's funny because when I walked on SJCC Spring 08, Larry's one of the first guys I met. Obviously, when I was probably starting playing there. So obviously, the rest of history, Coach Dub and all those guys. But anyhow, that's cool. No, I remember you went to Oak Grove. But talk to me, was football your number one sport growing up, or were you a multi-sport athlete? Kind of talk to me about that.
I was definitely multi-sport. My 2 primary was football and baseball.
Baseball, right?
Yeah, and in baseball, out of high school, I had a really good choice. Like I had an opportunity to go just pursue baseball. Yeah. And I had an opportunity to just go straight football, right? So I took the football route because I felt like quarterback position felt more of my thing. It was more of a team sport. It was more of something where I was more hands-on and learning versus baseball where, it is a team sport, but there's also just individual performance, right?
Right.
Baseball, I played in the Bay Area World Series, which is like the top, I think it's like top 50 all-stars in Northern California. Yeah. They get evaluated by scouts. I was definitely, I got looked at by a couple of single A baseball teams. Cause out of high school, I had an average of 300 batting average all 4 years. And I averaged over 30 stolen bases every single season. So, and I played center field and I was a closing pitcher.
Nice. Yeah, pitcher and quarterback kind of goes hand in hand, right? Different motions, but still.
Yeah, I just be there.
Yeah, and so obviously after high school, did you go straight to CC? Did you go straight to City College San Francisco? Did you sit out? Kind of talk to me about that.
So out of Oak Grove, right? Like at the time we were like, San Jose State was like, hey, you want to walk on, whatever, your brother went here. And I was, being young, I was just like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to go play at a powerhouse or something. But, that was just me being dumb and not understanding like the aspects of things. If I were to do it all over again, I would definitely like just have walked on there and earned a scholarship. But, but that's just hindsight, right? So, I went and walked on. I went to CCSF. They gray shirted me, which if some people don't understand, a gray shirt is where you are a part-time student. You take less than 12 units and you are officially on the team, but not listed on the roster.
Right.
So you practice with the team, you train with the team, and you save a year of eligibility. And then after that, after I gray shirted behind Jeremiah Masoli.
Yep.
Right. Who played quarterback at Oregon.
And the NFL.
And then did his thing. And now he's in the CFL.
Yeah, CFL.
I think he's with St. Peter's or Calgary something. I don't know who he's with. Right. And then the next year, there was another guy that was older than me. He was a sophomore. He had gray shirted, red shirted, then sat a year. So, and then, and then it was his turn. And then I think it was like the second game of the season, he got injured. And they actually, believe it or not, we had a bounce back come in that exact week from, I want to say San Diego State, or it was from one of the Cal universities, and they were like, "Oh, he's a bounce back. Sorry, Kevin, but we're just gonna throw him in."
Fuck,
I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I was like, "I guarantee you, I'm better than this guy. He was
Fuck
third
yeah.
string over there. That's why they're bouncing him back. Come on."
Yeah.
So like literally the first game that guy plays, he gets injured, and then I get thrown in a huge rivalry game. It was us against Fresno City College at home at City College San Francisco. And we came back. We ended up losing by 3 in that game. But after that, since I took over the starting job, we won every game since. We went 7-0 from there. And the reason why from there I decided to transfer, as I'm pretty sure that would probably be your next question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is because bounce backs. City College San Francisco at the time was all about promoting and supporting athletes that are bounced back from universities.
Right.
So anybody that gets bounced back, they're immediately getting the starting job. Doesn't matter how hard that guy that was there before 2-3 years working his ass off, they're going to just move you to the side, put the bounce back in, and let him go.
Right. And to that point, I mean, I think it's interesting because politics exists at every level post high school. People are like, oh yeah, once you get past high school, everything gets easier. No, it doesn't, man, because different JUCOs, especially you and I know this playing. The JUCO season right after you transferred to 2009. I mean, there's so many fucking politics that go into play, right? I mean, obviously with you, with the bounce back situations, with me, San Jose City College, basically, I left the team for that reason. And basically Coach Dub wasn't returning. He went to Fresno State. He got a better opportunity there. I figured, I'm not going to stay. I'm going to go West Valley. It made sense to me,
Yeah, exactly. And what's funny is before I even transferred to De Anza, right, I showed up to San Jose City College because Carlton Connor.
Yeah, right, Coach Connor. Yep, Coach C. Yeah.
So that's what was tough. So it's funny. So in the JUCO world, there was Coach Connor, Coach Atencio, and Coach Lango. Those 3 guys are all good friends with my dad, who originally back in the day all coached at Gavilan City College when my brother was the quarterback.
Dude, right? Yeah.
So like it was tough for me because it's like I kind of grew up with everybody and being a kid and being on the sideline of both San Jose City games and De Anza games and all that other stuff. So it's like I went and looked at San Jose City, see what was there, and then I looked at De Anza. But the biggest thing for me when I went to De Anza was my offense coordinator Santos was like, "Hey, you're gonna throw the ball 40 times a game. I'm gonna put you in shotgun, and I'm even gonna let you just sometimes just when you're out there, I'm gonna just let you free rein it and pick some plays and run with it, right?" And I was all about that because growing up, even at Oak Grove, like sometimes I changed plays. Even though coach would give me a play, I'd go in the huddle and be like, "No, I don't like that play. We're gonna go with this play." Because I was a big Peyton Manning guy growing up, right? I was actually 18 all the way through my junior college stint. But yeah, that was the reason why I decided to go with De Anza over City and a few other JUCOs that wanted me to come there.
Yeah, and obviously Coach Tensei also was very kind of persuasive with me too when I was making my decision. He's very, I'm not sure what the word is. He's very personable, and and he's, I guess you could say he's kind of like a player's coach, in the sense that he was talking to me about, what he said? I mean, since we're done playing, I'm just gonna say, what he told me about SJCC? He's all like, "Oh yeah, awesome, you're SJCC. We call them over here at De Anza." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, we call them. You call them San Jose City. We call them San Jose Shitty." I was like, dude.
Yeah.
Oh man, he was awesome, man. Yeah, and even for me, because I wasn't able to play in high school because of my grades. Coach Atensio, Coach Connor, the South Bay was a lot more gracious and welcoming in, because I tried to go Chabot and Chabot and DBC out here in the East Bay, and it was just a bunch of bullshit. It was a bunch of bullshit, dude. Like they didn't give me the time of day. Like, "Where's your film?" I'm like, "Dude, I didn't play. I wanna walk on." And Coach Atensio was one of the few guys, like Coach Connor, who was like, "Okay, yeah, come here. We'll kind of learn, and and same thing with Coach Wink at West Valley. So it was awesome, So yeah, great coaches. So. And kind of so now you're at De Anza, right? So now you spent 2 years obviously at CCSF. You actually got to play in 08, and I think you have more passing yards than the guy behind you, whoever it was. I'm not sure who it was. You, Jeremiah Masoli, and whoever the other two guys were. But you actually got to have. I looked it up just out of curiosity. So I mean, obviously you're right in kind of your ability and your talent. You were better. I mean, just you were better. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Now you're at De Anza. Now it's basically even playing field because I can attest that firsthand. There's no bullshit.
Yeah.
It's the best man gets the job. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. So no, when I got to De Anza, it was straight up like, you know, Atencio knew what type of player I was at Oak Grove.
Yep.
You know, some of the athletes that were already there had played against me. Or were somewhat teammates with me. And some City College San Francisco guys actually came with me over to De Anza. At the time. So when I got there, it was like, hey, this is your job 100%. It's yours to lose, right? It's just don't bug it up. That's pretty much kind of what he told me. And from there, it was going to be a grind, and it was not just only to go to De Anza and play well and try and get a scholarship, but it was also like a kind of like a City College San Francisco you fucked up tour. You know what I mean? So
revenge tour number 18.
Yeah, so it was very, very adamant on it, and I was gonna be like, no matter what their quarterback does, I'm gonna outperform them. Doesn't matter.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's what ended up happening when I got to De Anza, right? So I just started learning the offense, picking it up, being able to call audibles left and right. We had guys come in. Kendall Hennon was huge for me. He was a great receiver. He listened really well. If I said, hey, like I know you run the route this way, I need you to run it like this on this play because of the defense is doing this, and then we actually got another big time transfer. Wish I could remember his name right now, but he was like 6'3", 6'4" receiver on the outside too to help support Kennan. And then all of a sudden we got a bounce back guy for a tight end. He was like 6'6". And the next thing you know, I finally have some like legit receivers and tight ends, and I'm like, let's go. So.
And the rest was history. And obviously, you guys went 7-3, which improved drastically from the previous year's record. And then you blew out, us. By the way, why'd you have to blow us out, dude? Like, I never got to ask that question on the field because I was like, just like we're just walking off, could just get us. I mean, what, dude? Like,
I had a deal with Santos. That was one of my other things where I came over there. I was like, I don't leave the field unless I have 4 more touchdown passes.
Oh,
period.
Yeah.
I was like, it's not happening. I was like, I'm going to break some records and I'm going to get myself up there and we're going to help put De Anza on the map too offensively. And then that way you'll trust me, you'll get more quarterbacks that'll come here. And he's like, I agree with you. Let's do it. I was like, it's like, we're going to hurt some feelings, but whatever. They're going to have to just get over it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's why every game you saw, it was like, yeah, it's fourth quarter. I'm still in. It's, it's 35-3 and I'm throwing a 70-yard bomb for a touchdown,
Yeah. Like fucking dude, I just remember, golly, because I was playing special teams. And they rotated me in and out on slot, but I wasn't really getting the ball. I wasn't getting targets. I was just kind of there to block and be a decoy. And I'd see you kind of, and I was just like, and I was getting the reps, in the fourth quarter. And I was like, dude, you're still. I was like, yo, like 18's still out here. I was like, damn, bro, like, I mean, is he not tired? Like, why is he still out here? Like, the game's over. Like, if it's like, it's all. I mean, I thought that was a true testament to your character. It wasn't so much just that. It's not that you're trying to run up the score. It's not just you're trying to win a film. You want to, like you said, it's to prove to yourself, whatever happened at CCSF, that's not representative of you as an athlete or as a player. That's not representative as you. It's you proving yourself, and kind of with me, Coach Dub, and almost every player who played during that season in the Juco, either at De Anza, San Jose City, West Valley, right? You proving yourself you can do it. And you prove yourself that you have that ability. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I got away from that. And I mean, that's why I never really took it to heart because, like, it's like I get blown out. It's fine. You guys had it. Tomorrow's guest, Nate, was your teammate during that season. And, we'll probably talk a little more about that too, right? But I mean, kind of, I mean, you guys killed it. And so you definitely redeemed yourself, in my opinion, for CCSF.
Yeah. No, fully agree on that.
Totally.
Actually, when that season was over, I actually got a text from the offense coordinator. It was Coach Hayes. He actually sent me a text. He goes, it was like, Kevin, hell of a job this season. He goes, I don't know what I didn't see or what I was thinking. He goes, the offense you guys ran there was very similar to what we run. He goes, he's like, honestly, I should have just committed and gave you that shot. And I think it would have been a great thing. Right.
Yep.
So at least he admitted it. That was good.
Exactly. I mean, the best feeling is when you get that text from like whoever doubted you. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the whole point of us playing. And obviously, when I talked to Cody about yesterday, it's like the same thing. It's like the longer you play, the smaller the circle gets, and then we're all separated by one person, right? And kind of like, and when you're able to prove to some of those people back when you started, whoever doubted you, like, for me, it's the coaches at Chabot or the coaches at fucking DVC. You never played, you're shit out of luck. But hey, here I am 12 years later, and I was able to, play as long as I could in arena, semi-pro, wherever. And and obviously, to you, obviously, you're able to not only redeem yourself, for CCSF, but then the coach the following year after you had your MVP season and you guys blew through everything, he's acknowledging his mistake, and that to me is also a true testament of accountability and also redemption for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Exactly, and I think that year too, in terms of this, in terms of what was it, the state, in terms of like the nation, in terms of quarterbacks, I think I ended up getting, I think it was either second team or third team, because they do the thing for the nation. It was like second team or third. I think it was actually second team. I got second team quarterback, all state.
All American. So, yeah, all state. Yeah.
Yeah, all American. And the guy that beat me out for that was Cam Newton.
Yeah, exactly. Blinn College. Bro, I remember watching. Yeah.
He only had 1,800 yards passing, but he had 1,800 yards rushing and 20 touchdowns rushing.
Man, the NJCAA versus the CCCAA, it's just like, it's a different dynamic down there in Texas, bro. That's all they do. Yeah, I mean, they don't do anything else. So, I mean, fucking, but you know what? Hey, being behind Cam Newton's pretty good company to be in. I mean, I'd still take that, to be a Juco American behind Cam Newton. So, now obviously talking about kind of after the season, because you went to Delta State, but did you have other offers on the table? Because I'm sure you did, right?
Yeah. So I had an offer at San Jose State again.
Nice.
I turned it down because once again it was San Jose State. They just lost Trafalis. They lost a couple of guys.
Adam,
it was a rebuilding year for them. I think that was the year they won like 2 games.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I ended up taking Delta State, but like my biggest knock on me throughout football was always my size. Like the thing is I'm not a small guy. Like now I would be a perfect fit for NFL because they don't care. You're 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot, whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm 6'2".
Yeah.
So I'm not like short, and I'm not ideal at the time of the height. Everybody was looking at 6'4". Oh, 6'4". You got a scholarship. You didn't even play.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the biggest thing there for me. It was height and weight, and my height at the time I was 6'2", 205.
Right.
So like just in terms of offers, like I that was the biggest knock. No one else could think why. My accuracy was there. I had like 60% completion. My stats were there. Maybe they looked at our division. As the other portion that some recruiters said is that they said that I made things look too easy, which could make the league look not very strong.
Wait,
and I'm
what?
like, I don't get that. I'm like, this is literally, I've been told this by recruiters and by guys. Like, it's just, that's what we look at. Like, we look at, is the quarterback having like a hard, rough time when he's doing all these things, right? And they really look at that stuff, and I was just like, okay, I don't really understand that, but all right. I figured it was stats and the coaches and the style of offense that you ran and consistency, right?
Yeah.
Consistency was the key for it, right? So, and I think at the time my 40 wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the worst. It was like I was running a 4.7 at the time in junior college, but I also wasn't like speed training a lot either.
Yeah.
So I ended up having, actually, believe it or not, I had 4 offers, all in the GSC conference, which where Delta State was at.
Yeah.
So I had like Delta State, I had Arkansas, and I had one from Valdosta State, and then I had one from Texas A&M Commerce.
Wow.
So I took Delta State because, hey, they're like, they flip-flop with one other Division II school that goes to the national championship the most, right?
Yeah.
The most national championships, period. So I went there and immediately sat behind a guy named Micah Davis. I redshirted that year. He was a local guy from Mississippi, right from the JUCO over there. Super smart guy. I mean, he had a 4.4 GPA going through medical.
Holy shit, medical school? Fuck, dude.
Yeah. He's a doctor now.
Nice.
I think he's a doctor now.
Yeah.
Very super smart guy, right? So then going into the next year, me and him started flip-flopping because I started speed training. I started getting bigger. I was like 210, 212. I was running now. All of a sudden, I was running a 4.6 something. So now I'm starting to run the ball more, run a little bit more of the option style stuff. So all of a sudden now I became an option quarterback. I was like, all right, this is weird, but so we started flip flopping. I think I had I had 500-600 yards passing that year. And then after that, coaching staff just said, peace. We're going to go be Southern Louisiana. That's where they went to, or Southeast Louisiana. I can't remember the team that's down there. They're yellow and green. They became the coaches for that. So now all of a sudden we had a new coaching staff come in. It was actually one of the schools that we played in the playoffs, and we just destroyed them.
Yeah.
And so, but they came in, they're like, we're going to run the triple option. And I was like, deuce.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to, and he's like, legitimately, he told us, he's like, we're going to run the ball to the ground. We're going to run it 30, 40 times. You got quarterbacks. I don't want to hear you complain. So it was just like that. Everybody, I think over half the team's scholarships got taken away. And he's like, wow. You got to re-earn them because I don't know who you are. I didn't recruit you. So it was a super, super crazy just business thing that happened, right?
Right.
So like I said, I remember A&M offered me a scholarship, and I called them up out of the blue, and they're like, come on down and come sign the paperwork right now.
Yeah.
So
now then you're at A&M.
Yeah, exactly. A&M, and then I took over third game there because I came late, right? I came through halfway through spring ball, so they already had their guy type thing, and I already knew that. But I already knew based on who was playing there that it was going to happen, right? But it wasn't a very good situation or a very good place, but I just wanted to play at that point, right? My senior year, didn't care. I need to get some stats. Started doing well there. I think I ended up with 15, 18 touchdown passes there, 4 picks. I had 400 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns there. Granted, we didn't even win a game. Actually, I think we won 1 game.
Just like West Valley. Just like West Valley, man. You see, now you know how it feels.
1 game. When I took over, we weren't getting blown out anymore. We were in it. We lost. Every game that I played in, I think we lost either by just a touchdown or by a field goal, or even by 1 point.
Okay.
So it was by 1 score we lost. It wasn't like we were getting blown out like we were before. So the huge difference. And we even Abilene Christian, we actually they were the number 1 team in the conference at the time, and we jumped out to a 21-0 lead just before half on them.
Wow.
So and they ended up coming back and beating us. I think it was 28-24, 27 or something like that.
Tough.
Yeah. So it was definitely an interesting experience. I took as they call the journeyman route, doing everything you can to play, everything you need to do to get out there and do your thing and kind of showcase what you can do. Even though you're being doubted every single way, you got to do what you need to do to be able to prove people that you can do it, right? And find someone that's actually going to believe in you.
Bingo, man. That's how it is, man. That's how we know that story very well, And then obviously, then you finish up at A&M. Then what was next for you? Did you go straight to Europe, or did you get the Niners invite? How that worked? Or kind of talk to me about the sequence of events.
Yeah. So out of A&M, I took that season out of A&M to just train hard. I stayed there. I trained for 6 months at A&M. I used the weight room. I got with the strength and conditioning coach. And then we had a couple of pro days. I did the pro day at actual Texas A&M. I did the pro day at Texas Tech. And then I did, another one? It was over at UTSA. So I did those pro days. And of course, we're there and there's what's their names were all there. Andrew Luck was there. A couple other people were there. Russell Wilson was doing his pro things. Because at the time this is also the combine stuff too, right? So people going left and right. So it was just nuts doing all that, but nothing came of it. I was like, all right, well, I just got to keep working hard, keep pushing myself. So I actually did. I think I did I just did a half season with the San Jose semi-pro stuff to continue my training, right? To continue to play.
Yeah.
And then that's when I did. All of a sudden, I got the call for the Spokane Shock to come out there,
Yeah.
And boom, next thing you know, I was off to Europe. But the only reason why I got into Europe though too is because of my connection to my quarterbacks coach is Jeff Garcia, right? So
Yeah.
that was kind of my connection with NFL and my upbringing in terms of who taught me how to play quarterback, and it was him and Roger Thader. Roger Thader used to be the ex head coach for Cal. He was my quarterback coach all through high school.
Wow.
And then I changed up to Jeff Garcia in terms of what I was going to do next and how to prepare.
For sure. And so obviously now you've decided to go to Europe, and you went to Berlin, right? First?
Yeah. Okay. Berlin Rebels first.
Berlin Rebels first.
Yeah, I took them because the German football league is technically like the league to be in, right?
Yeah.
They play a 16 game schedule, and they take a break in between those 16 games. At the 8 game mark, they take a month break.
Yeah. And
then you come back and play the other, because they believe in everybody getting healthy and recovering and not getting constantly bashed in.
100%. And it's funny because when Cody was on, we're talking about the different levels of GFL. There's the D1, D2, D3, or kind of like the Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, right? So I think the Rebels, are they Tier 1, 2, or 3? Which one are they?
So Rebels are Tier 1 in the
Tier
European
1.
League. They're Tier 1. They pay the most, right? I was getting upwards of 10,000 euros a month. Also, you get your cell phone's paid for, your apartment's paid for, your ride and transportation's all paid for. So you're literally making money and not paying anything.
Yeah.
There's no responsibility other than your job is to show up, practice, and play. That's it.
Right. And it's funny you mentioned kind of the dynamic of there's only 2 Americans without per roster. Gabe Martinez was a coach who actually coaches now indoor football at West Texas Warbirds. And I know this too because, I've also traveled internationally, right? Like the reason why is because they have a quota. They only allow 1 or 2 Americans, either whether it's Germany, Europe, or Brazil, or in kind of Mexico, or kind of these little teams who have these pro teams who aren't known on the national stage as much, but they're there. They're almost like feeder teams, right, to the NFL, where they have the money, but they can only relegate those 2 roster spots like the best American players, right? And so kind of, so to your point, I know Cody was getting paid. I know Andrew, obviously, yeah, you too. I mean, because I'll probably only 1 or 2 spots for you guys, right, to be in the league. But obviously, it must have been a great experience, because like you said, everything's paid for and you're getting paid up the ass. So
yeah,
can't complain.
Too. Yeah, it's funny too with the Eagles. Also, Andrew wasn't the only American quarterback that was there. There was a quarterback just before him that was there, but he broke his leg. Right?
Damn.
He broke his leg, and believe it or not, that quarterback he played over at why can I not remember the names of some things right now? What's the powerhouse high school that never loses a game in California?
De La Salle.
De La Salle.
Yeah.
He was a quarterback for De La Salle. He's 2 years younger than me.
Yeah.
So yeah, he played at De La Salle, and I thought that was just a weird coincidence that I would find another, and then obviously Andrew, right? Also from California in the same area. I'm like, what are the chances that 3 California quarterbacks, all from the Bay Area, are all on the same team in Poland, dude? Like, come on, man.
That's fucking awesome.
No sense to me, coincidence. And it's the same thing with when I was in Berlin. Like literally when I got into Berlin and just before I got to my hotel, after I dropped myself at the hotel, I walked into a bar.
Yeah.
And there was, I heard someone speaking perfect like American English, and I was just like, oh, I guess I'm not the only American in here. And I go to find out that those 2 people went to Leland High School with my cousin. And I was like, what?
Damn, dude. It's fucking awesome. Yeah. And so kind of, to kind of the point, right? When you play longer and you play at a higher level, the circle gets smaller, and usually it's the guys who you kind of played at those next levels or progressions with, you know what I mean? Yeah. So no, that's awesome. I mean, shit, dude. I mean, for you, obviously, because this is like what, like around 2014 or 13? When was this?
2014, yeah, about 2013, 2014 it was basically I was out there for a year and a half. I didn't come home because I was just out there the whole time, just traveling everywhere and soaking up all the experience that I can.
Yeah. But also what Cody talked about, some of those fields aren't really, they're multi-purpose fields, like in the sense that obviously over here in America, we have like the field turf. It's just relegated for the school or whatever sports team. But over there, it's like sometimes those field turfs are also used for like amateur teams or like youth teams or whatnot.
I played on like 3 Premier League soccer fields.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And 2 like massive, like major soccer, like professional soccer teams field that was converted into a football field for us to play on.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it must be much bigger because soccer stadiums are the largest stadiums in the world, especially over there in Europe. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
it's
I mean,
nuts. And even being out there when I was in Germany too, I was out in Germany when Germany won the World Cup. So
yeah,
it was
2014.
nuts.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking awesome, man. Yeah, so
Yeah.
kind of obviously that experience was great for you, right? So kind of what were your key
Yeah.
takeaways from that? Because I think it's around after that season, that year and a half, where you came back and then you get the Niners invite. But kind of talk to me about kind of what your biggest takeaways were from the time with the Rebels.
The biggest takeaways from there is European football is not what you're really gonna think it is when you get out there. You think you're just gonna come in there and you're American, you're gonna dominate and you're just gonna roll all over everybody. It's not the case, right? Because you're fully reliant on other team members there.
Yeah.
For your success. Doesn't matter, because on offense, you have an American quarterback, but that American quarterback can't just throw the American guy or hand the ball off to the American guy every single play. So, and also on top of that, don't doubt any of the European players out there. I mean, just because they didn't grow up with American football doesn't mean they're not talented, they don't have speed, and they're not big as shit. Because even I think Cody maybe even remembers, maybe Andrew, we had a left tackle that was like 7'7". He got drafted by the Vikings, and he was on the God, what was he on? He was on the Jimmy Kimmel show.
Wow.
Because of how big he was.
Yeah.
So, so it was nuts. No, but yeah, I would say it's not what you think it is. You need to go in there thinking, hey, I'm literally going to be playing in the NFL, because these guys take it that seriously. The team management takes it that seriously. You're getting paid to do it. So you need to treat it as such, right? It's even, I would say it's a step above just even how college handles themselves sometimes. Granted, I have seen some other teams where it feels like it's backyard football, but it just depends on the team you go. Like I would say the number one team though in all of Europe, if anybody ever wants to look them up, is the New Yorker Lions. That's what they're called. They're typically in the championship every single year. They're like the Alabama team. They're like the Patriots, just because they have the most money out of everybody.
Yeah.
There's no salary cap either. There's no salary cap. It's just, depends on what you want to bring in.
how much owners willing to break the bank, right, for the best talent. So.
Yeah, and what they would do too is they would look at German players, they would look at Polish players, and they'd be like, all right, that's the best guy on that team. Go offer him a contract to come and play over here with us, right?
Nice.
So, my second biggest takeaway I would say out there is, don't think all the same thing. It's like, for me, I thought the offense was going to be simple, right? I didn't think it was going to be in touch with what today is going on, right? But no, it was complex. It was up there with university type style offenses, and it was very well ran. Three, my biggest takeaway there too is also, just the training aspect. Get your training in, get your workouts in there. Otherwise, you're gonna fall apart. Those guys worked out religiously even throughout the week, even if you had a game that week. So, but I would say, when I was in Berlin, that's where I decided, you know what, if I'm gonna have a shot for the NFL, I need to put on weight. So I went from 210, I jumped to 225.
Nice.
So I jumped to 225, and I was in the lower 4.6s at that point. So that's why I started running the ball more and scrambling more, because I had more speed, and I was able to do more of an option stuff and be more of a dual threat at that point.
100%. And I think your time over there, kind of what you talked about, how you're able to increase your size and your speed, and then obviously the NFL kind of now had transitioned to more read option quarterbacks. So then around that time, I think 2015 is when you get the invite from the Niners, correct?
Yeah. So before that, after I left Warsaw, I came back. I talked to my quarterback trainer, Jeff, and I went down with him for 2 months and worked out with him for a little while. What was it? So we did our training stuff there. Then I went back up, and then I connected at the D1 training facility in Santa Clara with Vernon Davis.
Vernon, yep.
So from there, it was me and Vernon during the off season, pretty much the whole off season. Just we would meet twice a week, and we would throw passes. Wow. 2 days a week, and then the other 3 days we were in the D1 gym training, working out, doing whatever we need to do, right? And I always thought it was weird, because I'm like, well, at the time I'm like, well, where's Kaepernick at? Why isn't he throwing you the ball? At the time he was in Arizona working with Kurt Warner and getting training there.
Yeah.
And But I always thought it was weird because he was throwing different receivers, right? He was throwing receivers from Seattle. He was throwing receivers from Chargers, other different teams. I'm like, shouldn't he be throwing the receivers for the Niners? Doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
But yeah, so I connected with Vernon there, and I got a lot of more speed training from him as to what the Niners do. He started letting me know kind of what their operations were, their process, what they look at, what he has seen in film rooms, because he's always in there with Kaepernick and all that stuff, and kind of what questions they ask and kind of what they go through. So at that point, it's still 225. I got my 40 down. I was running at that point. I was running a 4.58, 4.57. And I was in the best condition of my life. And so then I went and did the San Jose State Pro Day with Jabari Carr. Right.
Yes.
So I did it with him.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I did it really well. San Diego Chargers were there. They looked at me a little bit. We had a conversation. I looked at Vikings were there. Niners were there. And like two of the Eagles were there. But it was the Niners that I said, hey, like, you come to the pro day, right? We want you to come to the Niners pro day. So went and did that, did well. I clocked my 40 at the pro day there at 4.58. And then they said quarterbacks don't lift. And then we just went right to throwing. And it was the most hectic, intense hour of throwing in my life. Like, I wasn't expecting it either. So it was like, you start off at the 20, you get through your rotation of passes, and it's sprint down to the other 20, turn around, and just rapid fire passing again, and sprint down to the 20. And it was like that for an hour.
Yeah.
Just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I felt like I did really well that day. I even talked to the coach, the quarterback's coach, and the offense coordinator there. They said, hey, we're going to have you stick around a little bit, throw some more. So I threw some more a little bit afterwards. And then it was kind of like, I got kind of peppered in for 2 straight weeks where it was like, hey, just show up and we want to see some more stuff. And this was just before the draft, right? This is just before the NFL draft was happening. We want to see some more throws, do this. And then come draft day, like, they straight up told me, like, hey, if we don't draft somebody or we don't pick anybody up, I think you might be good for the 3rd spot. Right. So I was like, all right, cool. So they end up actually not drafting anybody, but they picked somebody up in the supplemental draft. His name was Dylan Thompson out of South Carolina.
Yeah.
And the coach called me and he goes, hey, I just want to let you know, before we picked him, it was like 50-50 between you and him. And he's like, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't want you to feel discouraged about it, but it was pure business decision.
Nah.
He goes, legitimately, it's just because he went to a bigger school than you. And he'll probably sell more jerseys.
Fuck, dude. And
yeah.
I mean,
and I'm like, come on, dude. I was like, just give the local guy a shot. I was like,
right.
And I was like, I'm gonna be friends with you. I was like, because what's his name was the head coach at the time. He was only there for a season. Do you remember?
Oh fuck, Jim Tomsula.
Yeah, it was Tom Sula. That's right, dude. That guy was hilarious and really cool. I got to talk to him for a while too.
Yeah.
I was frank with him. I was like, honestly, she just gave me a shot. I was like, Thompson is probably only gonna be his year there. I was like, it's gonna be a shitty season. I was like, just give the local guy a shot to be on a team and do whatever. Like,
bingo.
I was like, I'll even run a trailer and I'll be out there with the playbook. I'm ready to go for practice. I'll park it right there. But he's like, it was just purely business and it had nothing to do with my skill or talent or anything like that. He immediately referred me. He's like, look, honestly, I want to keep tabs on you. Go play. He's like, go do arena football, right? He's like, go do that for one season, at least for this year, to keep your skills up and then come back again, right? But at that point, I was just like, all right, I'm like 25. I'm like, chances are 20. I'm like 25, 26 at that time, I think I was.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go to Arizona. I don't want to work a second job on top of that. I don't want to live with some other random family.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was. It was like, it was the Arizona Rattlers, by the way.
Yeah, that's what Cody played.
Looking at that.
Yeah,
that's Arizona Rattlers because their quarterback got injured.
Yeah. And
I straight up asked them too, and maybe Cody has very better insight on this than I do, but this is the only thing that I've heard. I straight up asked him, like, okay, so he's like, yeah, come over play for us. Our quarterback's broken every single record, and I was like, so he's broken every single record in arena football. And like, yeah, he's broken the career, he's broken the season, he's broken touchdown passes and whatever. And I'm like, okay, why is he not in the NFL right now? You know what I mean? So like, and they couldn't answer it. And I was like, look, if you guys can come out here and evaluate me, we can do it. Right. Cause I still had to try out with the Seattle Seahawks too. Because my connection with Mike Holmgren, I worked out with him a couple times. He's ran me through some drills and he referred me to the Seahawks, to come take a look. And I told him, look, I have the Seahawks come to look at me at the Anza, have him, if you can send a guy, have them come out and evaluate, and then we can go from there. Right. So I did the training with the Seahawks, and then they didn't come out, and that was that. And I think the Seahawks also, they ended up trading for a guy. I can't remember who it was, because one of the second guys became a free agent. I think it was it's another running quarterback that was like Russell Wilson but older.
Not BJ. No. Oh no, Tavares. Was it Tavares Jackson?
I think it was Tavares they traded for. They got somebody, yeah. It was around there.
Yeah.
So I was like, damn. But I'm like, hey, you know what? I was cool about it. They came out, they evaluated just me, right, with my guys that I was throwing to. So at that, like I said, after the Niners thing and the Seahawks thing, I was like, all right, I think I'm done at this point. It's been a long, hard journey going in and out and chasing things and trying to figure it out. And also, like I said, I've seen too many, at least guys at the quarterback position, right? I can't speak to other position players, because position players, there's more positions in the NFL, right? I mean, there's more receivers, there's more corners, there's more linemen. Quarterback's one position. So it's like, okay, yeah, I could go play here, go play there, but the likelihood of me moving on from that point of view is going to be really crap. Like, yeah, I could go back to European League, play there, but at this point, I was like, all right, it's time to be an adult and start doing some other things.
Man, it's so crazy. You came to that realization after I got this motherfucker in 2012. My mom's like, "When are you gonna get a real job?" I'm like, right. I'm getting paid $80 a game. She's like, yeah, try to go get some rent out here in the Bay with that kind of a salary.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, I'm happy. Like I said, with high school, my sophomore, junior, and senior year, I was on varsity. Got to the CCS championship all 3 seasons.
Right.
Walked away with a ring there. Deanza walked away with a ring there. I walked away with a ring at CCSF because we still won our league, and then we went to the national championship, which we won there when I gray shirted. So I technically got 2 rings from there.
Yeah.
So 3 rings in Juco, my ring in high school, got a ring at Delta State when we won the GSC championship, our conference championship. So walked out of football with 5 championship rings. So I can't complain.
Yeah, where's the rings, brother? I thought you were gonna bust them out. I was flexing my guests, and then usually they come and flex back at me.
they're in a glass case downstairs with my senior photo in college.
I love it. Oh, that's great though. I mean, obviously, you had a great career, and obviously, kind of, what was your biggest? I guess because I mean, when we come to realization, for me, coming out because I went kind of like you around the 2012 timeframe was when we made what championship game in the AIF, and then pretty much I decided to transfer to East Bay, and like you said, start adulting, get a real job, and that way I don't have to be trying to chase a dream, because when the dream is dead, it's dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, kind of and so I totally resonate with that. Kind of. So what outside of knowing that it was just time, it was just time to move on because you're content with your career, you're content with what you've accomplished as a player. Kind of what else motivated you to kind of start transitioning into what you're doing today? Kind of, did you start with software sales, or did you gradually get into that?
Well, what motivated me growing up was I was always the kid that took electronics apart and wanted to see how they worked and would put them back together and figure out how things work. And then playing video games and playing, and then all of a sudden I transitioned into PC gaming and building a PC, and then the intricacies of how software worked. And from there, I'm just like, this is another passion of mine, right? I can maybe tie that into how I like some of the gaming stuff and how I like some of the aspects of competition within that, right? And there is this hierarchy within a business that you can look at in terms of how coaches are, right? So as an account executive, I'll just have my actual boss for our team, right? So I would consider him as maybe my quarterback's coach, right? And the guy above him would be the offensive assistant coordinator, and then his boss is the offensive coordinator, and from there it's it's assistant head coach, and then head coach is CEO. So it's
exactly. Yeah.
I really break it down like that. That's just how I look at it in terms of reporting and what you want to do and how you want to do it and tie it into a passion that you're familiar with.
It's crazy that I have that same equivalence. You're the first guest to actually bring that up. And I think it's because you and I both work in IT. It's like, I haven't heard anyone kind of make that correlation between the hierarchy in the corporate world versus the hierarchy and like, but then again, no one really works in IT, outside of football. I mean, usually guys get into some other field, right? So, I mean, either they're coaching or doing other stuff. So, I mean, kind of like with you. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, no, yeah, out of everybody that I know that I played football with or played football against, in terms of today's world of what they're doing at work, it's literally either they're San Jose PD, which is like 70% of every athlete I played with. Like everywhere I look, I'm like, hey, I played football against you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, legitimately, like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
They either play football, they're in construction right now, and they're doing really good work where they get paid a ton to build some of the Bay Bridges and Golden Grades. They're still doing crazy work.
Yeah.
And then, there's a few other guys who are doing like real estate. That's the other biggest thing right now, real estate and commercial real estate. That's pretty much majority of athletes that I know what they're doing outside of it, or they're out coaching, right?
Yeah. That's pretty much it. I mean, that's pretty much kind of my experience too. It's either they went to PD, firefighting, or real estate, construction, right? Exactly. So, but yeah, I mean, kind of now, obviously, with your current role, and obviously with now that you've kind of transitioned, I guess now, I mean, with kind of the software sale, being account exec, kind of talk to me about your daily life and kind of what lessons from football that I mean, you already alluded to this, kind of what lessons from football that you kind of apply to your daily life, and kind of what the future holds for that, and I don't know if football has any impact on your future outlook, but talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, so my daily life today is pretty much, I have a list of accounts that I work. I primarily work the southern part of LA, right? So I work Beverly Hills, Hollywood area, down to San Diego, over to Hawaii in terms of what area I'm selling into. In terms of accounts, I have a list of accounts that I look at and I need to reach out, right? So I either have a supporting rep, the sales development rep, that goes and calls all these companies. They make like 80 calls a day and they qualify them out to make sure if there's any opportunities or they want to evaluate our product. Then from there, I take that evaluation and I turn it into a deeper dive of how they want to evaluate, and I match it across their current company and what they're doing and what they're currently utilizing. And then I take that, and from there, I look at their entire environment and see where the problem might lie as to why they want to switch, right? What's the pain? Identify the pain. And then does our company solve that pain for them, and does it bring value to their business overall, and will we also save them money on top of that, right? So what's the actual return investment, right? So it's pretty much the ROI on that. So from there, once I get the value going and they understand it, and then we're a technical fit within terms of how they want to use us. Is it ease of use? Is it complex? Is it, how am I going to be able to properly use your product without having a headache? So I have to go through all those, and then typically we either do a proof of concept, which means they get to kind of trial our product for a little bit, and then from there, if they like it, then we just flip it into a real instance, and they're able to utilize it and help save time. And what I basically sell is it's backup disaster recovery for companies, whether it's on an individual file basis, laptop, mobile device, or server or company as a whole, and it's purely 100% software as a service in the cloud.
Wow. Yeah. And so it's funny because I also work in this with SaaS products too. That's about on sales or kind of developing them. And obviously kind of like with that, kind of the rate of return on investment is a key component as to why, people or why companies and clients decide to go with one platform over another. And so obviously that evaluation is key. And I think I mean, the way I apply football to it is like, okay, strategy one. Football is the most strategic sport in the entire world. I don't care what anyone says. Like, it's by far, this because you're a QB. You have to know every fucking position. You have to know what I do as a slot. You have to know what the tight end does. You have to know where the O line's pulling. You have to know where the running back's gonna, you know what I mean? If he's gonna, either go, and so you have to know all that. Kind of with me, it's like also kind of like, I look at it, I'm like, okay, yeah, strategy, it makes sense, kind of like to your point of whether or not the technology fit works. Investment wise, it doesn't make sense, as to whether the money works, but also kind of, what with the long term kind of, I guess goal, right? Long term goal is you want to win. You always want to win, right? So we're going to go with you guys because you're going to help us win. You're going to help us reach that higher objective, versus whoever the fuck else is out there, so. Pretty much, that's how I equate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly,
man. Oh, I forgot to ask you, what was your biggest takeaway from the Niners training camp? I mean, obviously it was business, but obviously you got to be there for like 3 weeks. So kind of talk to me about what you think your biggest takeaways was from that.
My biggest takeaway from that was it was just a matter of how things were efficiently done. There was no waste of time.
Yeah.
Like it was
It's
here,
fast.
here, and that's why like their practices don't last like a college practice or a high school practice where it's going on for hours and hours, right? They get everything done efficiently in like an hour and a half time.
Right.
Granted, there are going to be those 3-hour practices and those long practices, but at least when I was there, they were quick, efficient, to the point that we're going to get this done and we're out. That was my biggest takeaway. It was like, it just seemed so much easier, so much more efficiently. You knew what you were doing. You knew the plays that needed to be ran. That was the other thing that was crazy too. My other takeaway was it was very difficult because every week that, each day they were giving me a different game plan.
Right.
Right. They're like, all right, here's 15 plays. You need to know them before practice today. I'm like, all right, let's go ahead and do this. Granted, even at least the quarterback just kind of like was cool outside the coordinator doing that. He's like, look, 90% of people, he's like, they don't remember that shit. They're just going to free fall anyway. We won't be able to tell. He's like, just remember who your first read is and go with that.
Yeah.
That'll be your best bet.
Exactly.
I was like, all right. He's like, don't even remember the other plays. Let's just look at the damn first read. There's not going to be defense out there anyway. He just wants to make sure you do your progression and make sure you hit the right guy.
Perfect.
So,
Yep.
My other takeaway was, man, this was also the year, I think it was when I was doing the NFL stuff, is all of a sudden the NFL started bringing back the 7-step drop.
Yep. 7-step drop.
Right. Instead of a 3 and a 5 where, more guys were under the center and stuff like that. But now they wanted you to start doing a 7 because the 7 would mimic as though if you were in shotgun doing a 3-step.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that was totally different. So I had to get that down with my feet work a little bit. So that was another crazy takeaway. Outside of that, it was just the same stuff, different day for me. I felt like I didn't treat it as something crazy or something super pressury for myself. It was just, my focus was me and what I needed to do to try and just get on the team.
Yeah, exactly. Just trying to make it. Just fucked, man. But
yeah, no, it was everything. I mean, I would technically have more expectations and more takeaways if I wasn't already had been training with Jeff Garcia and a few other ex-NFL guys that already gave me like, hey, this is what to expect. This is what to know. That was the other thing too. I didn't think they were going to do either. But I already had timer in my head already as a quarterback anyway. It was like they actually have a stopwatch, right? So every time that you would go in and play, they expect you to get the ball off in less than 2.5 seconds.
Wow, fuck.
Because in the NFL, the typical time for a quarterback to get the ball out of his hands is 2.5 seconds. That's the average right now.
Right.
Based upon if they're going to start feeling pressure and they need to roll out or they're going to get sacked.
Right. So shit. Man, dude, I can only imagine what that must have been like. That's a huge adjustment. So,
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
No.
But it sounds like yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I mean, it sounds like you took away a lot of good things from working with Jeff and Vernon. And you mentioned that someone who I worked with prior to my AFL trial in 2010, Adam Tafralis. I worked with him heavily as a kind of like a personal trainer out in San Carlos at John Pay.
Is he still coaching over at Valley Christian?
I don't know, actually. Is he? I mean, I haven't kept in touch with him. I have him on Instagram, but I know he has his own little Team TAF, like QB Academy, but I'm not sure. He might be.
Yeah, I know he's doing his QB Academy. There's another guy it's called QB Locked In. If you look him up on Instagram, he actually played at Bellarmine.
Wow.
He was the backup at the time when I was when I was at Oak Grove and we played them in the playoffs. He played quarterback, I think, or he was at Vanderbilt, but then he became the quarterback coach at Missouri and he coached Drew Lock.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's doing his QB thing out here too. I wanted to get into that so bad, but every time I even step on a field and I have a football in my hands, I'm just like, no, I can't do it.
Exactly.
I feel like I'm frustrated and I'm going to want to just take over and do it myself.
Exactly. Exactly, man. And that's the thing.
I've had people ask me, hey, why don't you come coach, go be offensive coordinator, be a quarterback's coach for me. And I'm like, I just can't do it yet. I still can't do it today.
Exactly. Because
I'm not ready to coach yet.
Not ready to quit. No, exactly. That's why I remember
like
you saw me on.
The only way that I would ever jump into a coaching situation is if it's a good buddy of mine or someone knows me and they're already at a university and they're like, hey, I got a job for you with a dang paycheck that's gonna be able to allow me to survive. Then yeah, I will jump over there and go coach. But Until then, I know high school coaches, they get like one check at the end of the year. It's like $500 or something
Exactly.
like that.
So yeah, it's a
Something
little
crazy.
stipend. And I actually experienced that firsthand. I mean, I was still working full time with my career, because I fully transitioned in 2013, 14 to my current career. But I mean, last year I was coaching at Whitney in Rockland, right? And it was like 2,500, like just like 500 to 2,500. It wasn't bad, but I mean, like for a full year, dude, like that's just like, what am I supposed to do with this? Imagine it's like someone's like trying to live off of this. You know what I mean? You can't live off of this.
Yeah.
So.
No. So, the other thing too is that, that I'll bring up here in your podcast is going through my career in the hard way that I did it.
Yep.
Right. You have you have your dream route, right? Which is like, this is what I call the dream route for any high school guy. It's go to high school, get a 3.5 GPA all the way through, have good stats, be an All-American, go to a Division I, and then NFL, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's this route that no one really talks about, and sorry, let's not go too far to that one. Let's go to the second route, which I call the Juco route, right? So then you go from high school, you go to Juco, then you go to a university, and then you go to NFL, right? Yeah. That's the next logical route, right? Then there's the other route where it's high school, you do okay, you walk on to some whatever, and then maybe you go to NFL, maybe you don't, right? Now, in terms of making the NFL, though, right, I will say this. My experience in Division II, based on athletes that I have met and have done, doesn't matter how well they do in Division II. I will say maybe top 5 make it.
Yeah.
In terms of quarterbacks my year in Division II, at least my year, I think maybe one. Right. Not in the NFL, but they're not starting. They're a backup. Today in the NFL, there is no Division II quarterbacks that start in the NFL. None. Zero. Division I AA, okay. Wentz, right, was starting at the time. Yeah. And one other guy. That's it. I would say in terms of going to my last route, my other route that I've seen people, or not really people, realize. I want you to look at Matt Castle.
Matt Castle.
Okay. Never played it down in high school.
Yeah.
Got a what do you got? He got an academic scholarship to USC, I think it was.
Yeah.
And then never played at USC. Because he sat behind he sat behind Palmer and then Leinart.
And I mean, yeah, and I don't want to interrupt you, because I mean, you're going on the right direction. I just want to say, Lofa Tutupu, one of my good friends now, who he's obviously playing the Seahawks, right? He was teammates with both of those guys, Leinart and Palmer, before. So yeah, Castle was also his teammate too. So go ahead.
Yeah. And he gets to the NFL. What? I thought you had to at least play.
Exactly. Right? Yeah.
And then I started doing some more research about some of these backup guys, and at least on the quarterback position, I'm like, dude, there's a couple other guys that never played.
Right.
They never saw the field, and they're in the NFL. And then I look at the coaching staff, right? I'm like, oh, that's why. They're all ex-NFL coaches, right?
Yeah.
So like, I started looking more in terms of other positions and guys that don't really play or do much, but they get in the NFL. And when it comes down to it, if I were to ever talk to a kid, I'd be like, look, if it ever comes down to it, and you're coming out of high school and you have 0 offers, right? 0 offers, right? I would say retain your youth and go walk on to whatever local Division I university that you're near. Right. So, like I said, if I were to redo it again, I would have walked on to San Jose State in a heartbeat, because there's still some coaches that had ties to NFL there, right? I could have easily redshirted and probably, sat a year and then played 3 years or played 2 years and still came out of college at 21, 22 years old and possibly a chance in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
Just because I went to a Division I university.
Right.
And they get some TV time here and there, right?
Right.
It's the same thing that I'll tell any other kid. I think that's the biggest piece of advice. Yeah, granted, there's Division II. Like, if you're looking to just play, get your degree, and get out, have a good college experience, and just say, hey, I lived it up in college, and you're done with that, that's fine. Go take your scholarship. Boom, right? Other than that, you could go to your local state college your Division I university that's there. Tuition's going to be dirt cheap. You can get a quick small student loan. You can probably still stay at home with mom and dad if you really need to.
Exactly.
Or you can go stay in the dorms, which is still going to be cheap there, right? In terms of loans, you'll probably come out of a 4-year college. Maybe, let's just say if you're taking loans for everything, right? Let's say you'll come out of a 4-year college, maybe 50 G's in debt, which, by the way, the average debt, like right now for 4-year university, I think it's like $500K.
Something ridiculous. Yeah.
So 50K is not bad. You can make that up, no problem. But yeah, I think that would be my biggest takeaway. Like, if you're really trying to go to the NFL, just don't take the lower route. You got to just go work and earn it. You know, even if you have to walk on. And even nowadays, we start seeing a bunch of YouTube videos where these guys walk on and they're earning scholarships.
Yeah. Just legitimately, just walking on, you get a scholarship,
walk on and earn. If you think you are good enough and you think you can play Division I football, you take that chance. I think that's going to be the better route, because at least that way if you can make it to the NFL or not.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because one of my teammates from San Jose City, you might know him, Manu Hatakora, he went to San Jose State, walked on, and then after that he earned a scholarship. And then he was able to get invited to the San Francisco 49ers rookie mini camp. And then after that culminated into an international pro career, kind of like you. And essentially it was like, but it was made possible because you got to go to D1, you got to earn that scholarship, you got to become an all WAC selection, right? And kind of, I mean, you get more looks, you get more eyes on you as a player when you're at that level. And like you said, connections are abundant. They're abundant. It doesn't matter. And to your point, and one more thing that you made, very interesting point you made. And I want to drive this point home. Matt Castle, right? Like what you said about being 6'2". Adam said the same thing to me when he helped train me. He's like, look at me, I'm not 6'2". That's why I'm not in the NFL. He said, you're like, oh, like I'm 6'2", I'm not 6'3", I'm not in the NFL. That was the mentality back then. You remember when Russell Wilson was getting drafted? What was the biggest knock on him? He's not 6 feet tall. He's not 6 feet tall. He's not 6 feet tall, 5'11". Right? 5'11". Yeah. I mean, he's not. And but hey, he redefined that. But then obviously with Adam and kind of what you're saying with Matt Castle was 6'5". And so it didn't matter that he didn't play. It's just like, okay, big body D1, let's just throw him out there because the coaches know each other, and and the rest was history. So I mean, it's just like
they're big body, 6'5", and doesn't really do much, but smart guy. Like, probably look, they look at your GPA in the NFL. By the way, they look at your GPA in college, so they want to see if you're a smart person, especially if you're a QB. Right, and he did score. He scored well on his Wonderlic. So I mean, that was another case in point for them. Just they wanted a smart guy that, and also like I said, he's part of NFL coaching, Pete Carroll, right? So I mean,
it's like a pipeline, dude. It's almost like automatic. So, I mean, I totally agree. I think just because, and I mean, I'm not here to discredit, because we have NFL players on this podcast. We have Pro Bowlers, we have Super Bowl champions, we have NFL coaches. I mean, I'm just saying that to our point, kind of the road less traveled, kind of the road that we took, it's not as apparent as to why you can't make it. It's not necessarily like, for example, for me, I had the option to go to D3, walk on at Menlo, because we went 0-10 after West Valley 09, right? Or I had the option to the Sabercats had extended tryout invite. I'm like, fuck it, dude. I'm gonna run with it. The rest is history, And I would not. I don't regret my decision by any means, because I end up with getting 3 rings. So, I mean, to your point, I totally agree. I think the biggest thing is just knowing, kind of, like you said, if your goal is the NFL, you gotta go for the biggest, you gotta go for the gold. If your goal is to kind of like, just play and improve yourself, like that's what JUCO is. It's like the series Last Chance U. It's your last chance, right? Either to get a scholarship or to do whatever the fuck you want to do with football, because this is it. Because it's pretty much either you had the scholarship at one point and it didn't fan out, or you basically have never got the scholarship, like me, and you need to prove that you can actually play, which I did. And obviously, and to that point, I think that's the biggest thing. And I think it's a great point you drove home. It's like, if your goal is to get into the NFL, try to walk on at a local school if that's D1, and ideally D1A, not double A, because then
D1A in one of the major conferences.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think also back out of junior college, my only biggest opportunity that I had, I got really close to getting a scholarship with Mississippi State.
Yeah.
They were heavily evaluating me, and guess who got the scholarship over me?
Who?
Brett Favre's nephew.
Oh, Dylan Favre. Fuck, dude.
Who got caught in the locker room doing cocaine.
Oh my god. Like, dude.
What a waste.
Yeah, like wasted. You know, and that's the thing, bro. I mean, nepotism. Nepotism. That's what. You know, it's funny. We're talking about this. One of my coworkers last year, Sutter, actually played at SJSU back in the day. He's much older than us. He's like 10 years older than us. But he said the same thing. He's like, there's guys in NFL who don't need to be there, but there's guys who should be there, and they're not there because of we don't have the connections. We didn't go to a big school. Like we didn't. You know what I mean? But we still got to play pro, but it's not the NFL because we didn't have the NFL coaching to kind of grandfather us in. You know, and I think it's a really important. Yeah, you know, I mean, dude, like, bro, if we were fucking, if kind of to your point, I want to walk on SCSU. That was my initial goal. If we walked on, especially you, if you were, if we walked on, yeah, of course you get fucking, dude, you get looks every fucking dude. It's not even a question. You know what I mean? And it's just, I don't know, man. Is the politics are so shitty, dude. Like, I was talking to Cody about it yesterday. Like the politics in the arena scene, especially when where I played, it's so fucking bureaucratic. And obviously with the NFL, it's a business too, right? It's a business, like they told you, it's a business decision, but it's not really a business. It's nepotism. It's like we coach this guy, he never played, but he's our guy. You know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Also coaches that are in the NFL that come from the college section. I mean, they go there and they're like, hey, yeah, I coach this guy. He's familiar with my system. Let's bring him on. Let's sign him, right?
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with is he better than this guy? Is he better than that? It's familiarity, and it's like a family system, right? So this is why I always tell people too. I was like, if you have a family and it's all of a sudden, you know, you got like, let's just say it's like a mom and a dad, they got like 5 kids. If that first older one gets in the NFL, I guarantee you the rest of the kids are going to get in.
Yeah.
You know, just as long as they go to a good school. And I'm pretty sure that one school that one kid went to, the first one, whatever scholarship they got, probably going to follow suit with the same school and the same route, right? I mean, look at now in the NFL how many brothers and families are all in the NFL now. You got the Watt brothers, you got the Bosa family, you got so many others now that are like it's starting to show, right?
It's pretty, man, it's crazy. It's really crazy, you know. I mean, not taking away from anyone's talent because the Bosas are very talented, the Watts are very talented.
I mean, Jesus, the Watt family is just ridiculous. Both families are so ridiculous in terms of talent. I mean,
the Gronkowskis.
But I mean, the thing is, it helps set them up to go to the right schools too. Like Bosa going to Ohio State gave him a phenomenal system to be in, a phenomenal program to train in to get him to that level, right? I mean,
that's it. You know, I mean, like, and I totally agree with you. It's almost like you have a connection to get in if you're kind of already part of that NFL alumni family. And obviously, like you said, if you are like the first sibling of like a family of however many, you know, obviously, and then your brothers or something just falls to your brothers. Yeah. Sorry.
Look at the Sims kids, right? Phil Sims at quarterback. Look at his 3 kids.
Yeah, they're all
terrible.
Yeah.
Chris Sims, Matt Sims, and the other one's actually really good. He's really good on TV, though. I will give him that.
Yeah.
But my God, in the NFL, they were terrible.
Yeah, and now what are they doing?
Not taking anything away from their person. I'm just talking about skill set. I mean, it's just.
No, I agree. And now, and to your point, now Chris is now fucking working on the NFL Network, and he's a horrible analyst too. So I mean, like, you know, how do you get the job?
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I totally agree with that. So, no, I'm glad someone on my show said it, because it's hard to verbalize and not come off as being petty, but it's legitimately a fact. It's not even. Yeah, because I mean,
I don't knock it either. I tell people, I was like, I'm not upset about it. I don't knock it. I just, you know, I even tell people, I was like, damn, I wish I was a part of it. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. Me too, so, man.
You know, I did everything I could, like, and that was the other reason why too. I decided to just call quits because, like I said, I had Jeff Garcia as my quarterback coach. I had Vernon Davis helping me in training with him. I had Mike Holmgren helping me and training with me. And I'm like, after all that, I didn't get on an NFL team. Like, you gotta be kidding me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it is what. Yeah, it is what it is. You know, I think ultimately though, I mean, what you can hang your hat on is kind of your journey. Like, you dominated at every level that you got an opportunity to play at, which is the biggest thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is all the talking you need to do. So, I mean, besides that, so that's something you can be proud of. So,
hey, exactly. That's one thing I have at Oak Grove too. I'm the winningest quarterback there for 3 straight seasons. So.
Talk that shit, boy. Say that one more time. I didn't hear that.
Winningest quarterback at Oak Grove 3 years in a row. I think it was like, I think I'm like 36 wins, 3 losses, and a tie.
Yeah. Fucking, you know what I mean? So, and I think, the biggest thing is for me, like the people, I feel like what I hang my hat on, even though, the NFL wasn't a possibility, the biggest thing for me is like the guys who I played with, kind of to your point, from day one, or the guys who knew me from high school, right? When I came back from Chicago, so after I was done playing arena and semi-pro over there, they all want my autograph. Like, dude, how the fuck did you do this? So I mean, like, and like you and I are on the same page. Like, we've gotten enough accolades, and we're perfectly content with what we've accomplished. But we're putting this message out there for any of the kids, because a lot of Juco kids do follow me on social media.
Yeah.
They need to understand that if your goal is to get to the highest level, you need to be at the highest stage to get the exposure. Because I mean, nepotism is real, politics are real. The more people you know, it's almost like anything for any job. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. It's not about how good you are, it's about who can you get in front of. Like what Cody was talking about. He wanted to get in front of the coaches. They said no. But he could have fucking dominated if he wanted to, on different trials he had at the Raiders or whatever. So, and you obviously can attest that too. So.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. That's a definite for sure.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and I'd be happy to. Any JUCO players ever want to reach out to me for advice in terms of like schools that they're looking at, in terms of what they want to do. I always say, in terms of doing your research, don't just pick, like, if you want to go Division I university, don't just pick the Division I university based off the name and their record. You need to pick it based off the coaches as one.
Mm-hmm.
Because you need to make sure that you are happy with the coaches that you're talking to. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how the experience is going to be shit if you can't get along with your coach.
Yeah.
It'll be terrible, and you're going to find yourself wanting to leave immediately.
100%.
And then the second thing is, what offense, what defense do they run, right? Does it fit your style? Are you used to it, right? Are you a quarterback that's used to three or four wide receivers out it all the time, and all of a sudden you're looking at to go to school and they run a 2 wide receiver, 2 tight end set, and it's just a whole different ballgame, right?
Right.
Pick something that's like-minded for yourself, that's going to make it easy for you to go into and already have familiarity with it, and it's going to give you a better chance of success. The same thing with on defense as a corner. Are you used to running man-to-man coverage at your JUCO or your high school? Or are you used to running a cover 3 zone most of the time? Like, what are you used to running on the majority of the time, and what are you good at, right? So, like, when you're saying, hey, you're first team all league and first team all state, okay, other than your talent, it was also part of the defensive scheme that was being ran at the time that helped you be successful because you were able to learn it fast and be able to pick it up and utilize it. So that'd be my other biggest piece of advice in terms of looking at a school and where you want to go. Like, don't just be like, oh, I got Ohio State, I got Notre Dame, I got Stanford, I got this or whatever. Yeah, granted, look at the school too, right? Like the schooling program, what you want to do as a major just in case. But like, yeah, granted, like, you got Alabama. Yeah, I want to go to Alabama. I want to go play there. Yeah, okay, great. But are you going to be able to pick up the offense? Okay, you're going to be able to learn. You need to check a reality in yourself in terms of your learnability of an offense or a defense. And is it going to be more difficult for you, or is it going to be easier for you?
Exactly. And to your point, that's a great point, because I was talking to one of my other teammates, John Marquez, last week, who now coaches with your boy Nate at De Anza. We have Nate on tomorrow, and we're talking about kind of the offers he had, and he went to HBCU, and the HBCU, he's a tight end. HBCU, kind of what you experienced at Delta State, it's all options. It's all just running. It's a running. They want the dual threat QB, and they want to just run it every fucking play, And as a tight end, your opportunities are limited. So he made the decision after one season to transfer to Tiffin University, and it was the best decision he ever made, because then he was able to get his film. He was able to kind of, he didn't get any NFL buzz, but he was still able to get, continue playing after that. So I mean that, and to your point, it's because of the fact you have to know what scheme are you good at. Kind of capitalize. It's almost like a job. Like, what are you good at? Are you good at communicating? Are you good at writing? Are you good at what's your skill set? You know what I mean? Correct. Capitalize your skill set, capitalize the strengths, and work in a system that's going to work best for you as a player. For anyone who's listening, make sure that you know your abilities, your limitations as an athlete, and you know what system will foster those opportunities or provide you the best opportunities for success, for continued success. Regardless of position. So, yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
I fully understand that.
So outside of football, man, what else?
Well,
You got golfing. We got to talk about your golfing career. Actually, no, sorry, you're gonna say something. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Yeah, no, I picked up golf a lot last 2 years because I needed to compete in something. So
You're
I
being
started taking
modest.
it like really
You're being
serious.
modest. You're being modest. Tell the listeners what you told me about your swing, Rory McIlroy, motherfucker.
No, I just like I said, I've just been training like really hard with it. Like I've actually been like doing like the golf workouts that you're supposed to do with it. You know, I started taking lessons. I started taking these online personalized lessons where like you video yourself and you send them to your guides.
Yeah.
His name's George Gankis, and he's actually Matt Wolf's coach.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, that's on tour, and a few other guys that he works with too currently. So I've been kind of taking some things up there. I'm eventually going to plan to go down there once all the stuff lifts up, right? So I can go see him in person and get some real feedback in terms of that. But the last 2 years, yeah, like I was a crappy golfer. I started out like, you know, I was like a 21, 22 handicap, you know, shooting in the hundreds, and then now I'm all the way down to like I'm like an 8 right now, 8 handicap. So I'm only 8 over par on average, and my goal right now though is to get down to below 7 or below 6, because then I can eventually start competing in some of the amateur stuff, right? So there's an amateur championship that's held at Bayonet Black Horse, which is out in Monterey. It's a 3-day tournament, and if you can qualify in the top 15, then you can go towards the playoffs for amateur championship. So just trying to do that because I need to compete in something. And golf, you can play forever, pretty much.
Exactly. No, I remember they had the golf board. He's on TV. He says golf something you can play from when you're 8 till you're 80. So I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, you know, and I definitely have the swing. Like I've been doing like matching of swing speeds versus PGA Tour lines, right? So right now the average swing speed of like Brooks Koepka, who's by far my favorite golfer, regardless because of his attitude and how he handles himself. But Rory, you got Dustin Johnson, you got a couple of those guys. Their swing speed's anywhere between 119 to 124, right?
Yeah.
With driver, that is. So my swing speed right now is 121 with driver. So my average carry distance right now is currently 300 to 305 in terms of distance. So in terms of driving distance on tour, it's there. Granted, you can't count DeChambeau. That's just stupid and asinine.
Yeah,
he's driving at like 350, 360. He doesn't give a shit. He's whatever at this point. Same thing with irons, right? Irons is like anywhere between 90 to 94. I'm hovering about 91, 92. So, and I'm getting tour distances. You know, it's like a 7 iron and on average is like 185 right now for tour guys. So yeah, so I've been cross-referencing like what I'm doing, what the average in the tour is, and then trying to just drive that score down.
Excellent. Yeah. No, it sounds like you're treating it just like football. So laser focus, man.
Exactly.
Yeah,
because once COVID hit, like even my older company data that I was at, like there was kind of like a shutdown a little bit there. So like I had nothing to do for like two and a half months, and at that point I went full on golfing like 4 days a week. It was nuts.
Yeah. No, for sure. But I remember you hit me up one time, like, like when you want to hit the field, then I'm like, then I forgot. I'm like, let's hit the field, and you're like, dude, I'm golfing now. I'm like, dude, what the fuck, man? So anyhow.
Yeah. Well, hey, I gotta get my training in. First and foremost. No, but I know, you know, it's funny because I have my 2-year-old kid. His name's Wyatt, and he still pushes me in terms of in terms of running and stuff like that because he'll get on this thing and go down a hill super fast, and I got to full sprint. So I'm like, oh yeah, I can still full sprint, so it's no problem. So I don't feel like I'm 18 in terms of my athleticism. So I'm still not out of my prime yet, which is good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Granted, I've lost a lot more. I was gonna say, granted, I've lost a lot more weight though. I'm not 200 anymore. I'm like 190 now. So
yeah, well, it's good, man. You know, you're slim and lean. You know, you probably got a 6-pack going on. Hey, hate it.
I want to go back to my 215 weight. That was the best.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually went the opposite. I used to be like, I was undersized my entire majority of my playing career. I was like 155, and now I'm at 185. So I'm like, all right, sweet. Easy money. Exactly. So yeah, no, you'll get back, maybe. You're close to my weight because you said you're 190, right?
Yeah, I'm 190.
Oh fuck, dude, we're the same weight. I like this. Sweet. I'm as big as Kevin. Listeners, I'm as big as Kevin. just add like 4 inches and then we're good. No, I was kidding. But yeah, no, dude. Fucking okay. Any what else, man? Anything else you want to kind of like, you know, hobbies, anything, you know?
No, I mean, in terms of that, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, the other thing, I'm still, like I said, I'm still kind of a kid at heart. So even though I have my work and since everything's shut down, like, you know, during my free time that I have, I still play some games, still play some PC games online, and I started
Oh yeah, I
streaming
remember.
a
Yeah.
little bit. So
Yeah.
I started streaming on Twitch now, so I created that and started doing that. See what happens. I already got like 20 people following me. It's crazy.
Nice,
That
dude.
watch me when I play. So
Nice.
I'm like, hey, I looked at it like this way. Like, dude, there was this guy. You probably heard of him, maybe not. This is just the nerd side of me, but there's a guy named Dr. Disrespect, right? And he started streaming, I think, when he was like 33, and he's like 44 now, and he makes $15 million a year playing video games and streaming.
Shit, dude.
Like, what?
Yeah, like shit. Hopefully that's gonna be you, and hopefully me with the podcast. You know, I'm like, you me, dude. I'm like,
yeah,
making
but
home.
you know, but the video game thing is like it's just a side hobby thing that I'm doing. If anything happens to it, cool. If nothing happens to it, whatever. It's not the end of the world. It's just a couple.
Bingo, bro. No, that's exactly the same my mentality with the podcast too. It's like, you know, it's like
but I do. But I do need to, obviously, since you're in the world of IT, I need to talk to some software engineers because I am planning to build kind of my own platform, and because this idea came to me about 2 weeks ago in terms of recruitment for athletes out of high school, and how how there's agents for obviously guys coming out of college and NFL.
Yeah.
I looked at actually legal to actually have an agent.
Wow.
For when you go from high school to college, you just have to be NCAA certified.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I want to create a kind of an operating system that allows you to find these athletes easier, and also athletes to find colleges that are going to fit them better, right?
Yeah.
Basically utilizing analytics, comparisons, and kind of artificial intelligence in terms of how they're going to find that and how they want to do that.
Right? Dude. Yeah.
So now there won't be like, hey, you know, this is also the biggest pet peeve of mine. This quarterback in Timbuktu, Arkansas is number 1 in the nation. Why? Why is he number 1 in the nation? You don't know that. What about this guy in California? He's throwing for 5,000 yards. He's only throwing for 3 up there. Why is he number 1?
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, it's because the league he plays in. Okay. Is that league going to play this league? Do you know how he would fare in that league? No. How is he number 1? Exactly my point. You don't know. So that's why I hate that rating system, because it's the most bogus thing in the world. It's the same thing with, what was that, the Netflix thing where they did the high school in Alabama that's like number 1 in the nation?
Yeah.
High school, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how are they ranked number 1? You don't know. You don't. You can't. There's millions of high schools. How can you tell me that they're number 1 in football and they haven't played every high school? They you know, it's the same thing with there's a couple other schools that always play on TV. It's like the Latter Day something, St. Mary's High School, a couple other ones. And this is number 1 reason why I hate De La Salle. They don't play people out of their own damn division. I swear to God, if they came down to the CCS and played teams like Oak Grove and Los Gatos and a couple other ones, they'd get whooped.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing happened my senior year. We tried to schedule De La Salle, and they said no, we don't want it. No. Christian didn't want it either, because they knew that whole team grew up together from freshman year all the way through senior year, and we were a unit, dude. And everybody on that line was like 6'3", 6'4", you know. Our tight Mark Forrest was 6'6", right? And then you know, we had Larry at receiver, and we had Nevin, we had Stacy. So I mean, it's just, for me, like I said, it's just, that's why I want to create this stuff in terms of analytics and all that stuff, because I feel like it would give the proper actual feedback as to athletes that are in high school versus this the company's called recruit.com. And then you got Max Preps, where coaches can't even enter statistics incorrectly.
Yeah.
You know, because they choose some student from whatever math class or whatever they do to figure it out and write it down. And it's just like,
same thing.
You know,
same
in your
thing.
head as an athlete, you're like, I know. Like, I would call up Nevin and be like, hey, would you run the second game against that? He'd be like, I ran for like 250 yards and some change or whatever. And then he'd go on Max Preps and be like, it only says like 205. So they missed like 45 yards on her. Like, what?
Dude,
So
same thing with the CCCAA website. If you look at it, they miss stats. They miss stats, like like me, and I mean even for you too, because I mean you said you had 41. I think they only had like 34 or something like
they
that.
have 30, yeah, because they missed one of the bowl games that we played in, and they missed stats on the Hartnell game that we played. We played Hartnell twice.
Yeah.
Right, because we had lost. Who was it? It's not Fresno, but there's the other school that's down in that area near Bakersfield. It's a junior college.
Bakersfield?
They backed out in playing us, and they scheduled somebody else. So we had to play Hartnell twice. So it was a really weird, funky last season at the end.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, they definitely missed stats there. And I even called Cynthia about it. Hey, the heck, dude, can you get this updated?
I did the same. Yeah, and then they told me, oh no, a coach has to do it. And it has to be within a week of the game. I'm like, dude, are you fucking serious? Like,
yeah, check it. If it gets missed, it gets missed.
Yeah, like come on now.
So nothing you can do about it. But I know Dan's like, I got you. Don't worry about it. I'll put it in the school system. It'll be fine. So I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, fortunate for you.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because awesome. Even then, like you look at my touchdowns too, and then you look at my yards. It's like 2,500 yards. Like, how do I throw 30 more than 30 touchdowns and have only 2,500 yards passing?
Yeah. Like, dude.
Yeah, I threw like 3,400 yards passing. Like, there's no way that I have 30 touchdowns.
It's fucking ridiculous, bro.
Or even more than that, and have under 3,000 yards. Jesus. But yeah, no, like I said, like if you know any software engineers that can do some small little charity work on an idea, and if if it goes to fruition, then they'd have a job. You know what I mean, for the company that they helped create.
Bingo, yeah, for sure. No, I mean that's I'll definitely see what's out there. But yeah, man, we definitely gotta do this in person though, man. Shit, I mean it's great to finally actually sit down with you. I mean I know obviously we've been in contact for how many years on social media, but now I finally got to actually like talk to you. You know what I mean? I feel like now we kind of know each other a little better, so it's awesome, man. So yeah,
exactly,
yeah, and I gotta take you up on golf, even though I don't play, but maybe I don't know, football.
Well, pick it up, dude. Because that's the only sports you can do right now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just gonna like look at me. I'm Kevin Vi.
start doing your business meetings on the golf course.
Yeah, for sure, dude. For sure. I got you. So, anyways, Kevin, man, thanks so much for joining. This is great. It's a pleasure, man. Hey, man, we'll see you again. Hey, keep in touch. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep, and tell Andrew I said hi, and tell Nate tomorrow I said hi as well.
Yeah. No,
hopefully Nate's got some good stories.
I know, dude. I'm about to grill Nate. It's gonna be fun. So yeah. All right, man. Take care.
All right, man.
Yeah, later.